I think we are live on Facebook.
Are we?
It's connecting to YouTube now. Oh, sorry, it's connecting to YouTube now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Guys, we're on YouTube.
All
Are we?
right.
I
Nice.
think.
We are?
Oh my God, Safari web content quit.
Huh?
Fuck off.
Where can check it?
It's working. It's. I see it's live on YouTube, so it's.
Are we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
You stream on YouTube. 1 second.
Okay,
Yep.
Mich, can you post this on?
Yeah.
Can you post it on Souk?
Yes, you're live. You're live.
Right. Where on Souk? Where can I post it? Where's the link? Where's anything?
I have it. I got it. Don't worry. I'll post it.
Just say they go to YouTube Lost Desert channel.
Okay. Yeah, I posted it.
So why doesn't it work on Facebook, man? So
I posted it. as a post,
maybe
don't
I
worry.
can do it on Facebook as well now. Oh no.
Why don't we just not fuck anything up more? Let's just keep it like this on YouTube. It's fine. It's working right now. Just share the YouTube link on the pages. People can link into it, and that's it.
Okay.
We don't want to link anything more. Okay, let's see if it works. Okay. Live on YouTube. Okay. Video. Okay. Hermanez, turn on your camera, please.
Oh,
Okay, we see everyone.
Okay.
should work.
Can you guys send the link, please?
Yes,
Now it's
I sent it to you
Right.
guys.
Send it on Facebook.
Yes, I'm doing
So
it.
you only see on Facebook the big screen. So we need a different screen, guys.
What do you mean on screen? Everyone's on. Just make
Yeah,
sure you
like so.
choose.
No, it needs to be like this, I think. Yeah, this is better.
Does it work?
Yeah. There's a lot of latency, but it works. Now I see all faces.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. We're in business.
Okay.
So
Alright,
did
and to
somebody
people,
post
there you
it on Facebook already?
Okay, let's post it.
Is
Yes,
Maxi?
I posted it on Souksonic. I posted it on my page as well. So just post
Okay,
it.
where's Maxi?
Yeah.
He's here.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, okay. All right, everyone.
So
How are you? First of all.
We are in.
There we go.
oh, here we are.
Is it working now? All right,
I
let's see.
think so. Okay. Yes. So finally,
Yes, it's
after 45 minutes. Four. So yeah, technology. Right?
We are open.
Now we are like trained, you know, and this. Now we can hack, you know, the bank.
I think, guys, I think we're ready to go work at SpaceX and launch life on planet Mars. After doing this, I think it's going to be a little easier.
It's
To,
absolutely possible.
Our
Yeah.
entire civilization to a separate planet after doing this. But let's see. I'll have my YouTube open so we can tune into what people will say if
Yeah.
they
Okay.
ask us questions.
Okay, I see the guys from Mos. Hi, guys.
They're
Hi,
here,
Moscow.
guys. Hello.
Finally, yes, finally, indeed, guys. Thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it.
Cool.
Wow.
Okay, finally, good to see you guys. Everything
Yes.
is working here.
Café Souksonic, yeah?
Yeah.
Have a nice
Hey,
Belgian
guys.
beer.
Have
We
a
have,
good water.
We have. Hey, Chris. We have Erdir Mak, extremely talented. Wasu, love that guy. Elias.
Oh, yes, Wasu is amazing.
Everyone's writing things down. Hey guys, hope everyone's well.
Hello from San Francisco. Hello there.
Top.
Cool. So sorry for the delay, as I'm sorry for the delay with the release, but proud to say, Simon, that we reached top 20, actually top 17 in the electronica down tempo with the sitar track, the Fire Dance, which is amazing, right?
Yes.
Only to have been out for 2 days or so with a delay, which is very
Also delay on that.
Hmm?
Also delay on that.
Yeah,
Tape delay, you know.
yeah. That's the new label. It's called delay, but say don't tell it to anyone.
Yeah, wow.
So we have another guest down there. Maxi, how are you?
Fine, bro. How are you, people?
So happy to have you on the label, man. You make
Of course, man.
amazing
Of
groups,
course.
amazing tracks.
You are lying.
mixes,
You are
amazing
lying.
remixes, yeah. Super
Thank you.
dope. Yeah, I'm a big
I'm glad.
fan.
You are lying.
And then, of course, we have Bona Fide. How are you, my friend?
Everything is good. Saying hello from Amsterdam.
You are?
It's like Eurovision, you know, 12 points go to. But no, yeah, I'm glad we finally got it to work. It's been a little bit of a challenge, but you know what's more important is that we're gonna learn from this, and going forward, this won't be delayed in the future, and we'll know how to set it up on YouTube. It'll be nice and
Absolutely.
quick. Yeah.
And then we have our dear friend Mich, also known as Hermanez in the
Yeah.
bottom.
Thank you
Wizard,
for.
the wizard of mastering himself.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's been. Yeah, I think so.
We think so as well.
Guys,
So,
make sure
yeah,
to check one of my favorite tracks from Hermanez called Flame Keeper out on Shanti. That track is to this day gives me goosebumps. So it's some incredible
very
work.
good. It's
Thank
very-
you, man. So yeah, I mean, hello from Yang and my studio. I mean, if you can see a little bit here, but yeah, it's nice to be here and have a chat and with you guys and know a little bit from your secrets and see how we move on with that.
So, and then on the top, we have Simon. Simon joined us again.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
See
you
what-
guys are, so Simon and Maxi, they are in a totally different time zone. They are in Argentina, if I'm right. Yeah.
Yeah.
6 p.m. Yes.
6 p.m. almost.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah,
so
we're all
reading
scattered
some
across
comments
the
now.
globe.
All right. All right.
Top. So like the whole world and a little screen,
I know.
real time. It's amazing, you know. I
Yeah,
mean
well-
that it works now.
Yeah, it's a long time. Well, I say we wanted to start off this stream because we felt like it's a good opportunity for us, all of us, to reach out to the audience, to update everyone on how we're doing personally during this time of isolation, and to discuss how it impacts our creativity, discuss some of the upcoming releases, and of course answer any of your guys' questions that we see on YouTube. So we have your comments open, so feel free to ask us anything and we'll be happy to tackle it. Make sure you share it with your friends. Despite some of these technical issues, we managed to finally set it up. And guys, I think even for me, I'm a little nervous to be in presence of such big producers in our industry. That even I'm one of the fanboys on that YouTube commentary trying to ask some of these big guys some really important questions. So
Okay, shoot.
Yeah.
yeah, so I think we all watched some of the previous videos from Sébastien Léger, and I wanted to see how do you guys find inspiration? Where does the inspiration come from in certain music, in this genre? How do you work? What's your way of tackling and starting a track? What is the workflow? Like a quick kind of chat. To give you kind of an example of what I'm perhaps curious to hear is from my end, I'd like to start off with some sort of a melody, and have that melody in my head. And then from there, I like to build on the rest of the track. I really enjoy working in session view, which is not very typical in Ableton. And then from there, when I have kind of the peak of my track organized, that's when I break it down and kind of tune it down and then bring it up again. And that's how I essentially work. So I'm curious to hear you guys, how you do it.
I'm mostly, to be honest, I mostly start with a group, with
Agree.
with a loop, and because then often you get inspired on what's actually there in the percussion, because that also has like a tone, and that usually gives you like how do you say, the key of the song practically, because if you have a low tom going in a certain key, if it's an 808, it's probably a F or a G. You're kind of stuck there.
Sure.
So I'm often getting inspired by just starting off and making a groove, and that takes me off, and from there I try to look for sounds and see where it takes me.
Yeah.
I try to find the clue, you know, to sometimes you hear a sound, or even if you watch a movie and you hear something from the sound designers from the movie, then you get inspired and you hear a track already in your head and you try to achieve it, or kind of a vibe which was in the same thing as in the movie, you know what I mean? And it depends. Sometimes it's a groove, like Patrick said, and sometimes it's like it's with a small melody, you get hooked on it, you have a small vibe, and you add some drums. So it's actually very random how it starts, you know. If we are talking about how a track starts, you know, it's you get inspired by sometimes like with a groove if you are working already, or like other things outside it, you know. So, I mean, my case. So, what about you, Simon?
Yeah, what's up? What about you, Simon? Talk to us from all the way from Argentina.
Well, usually it's pretty much the same for me. Like, I start with drums because it's the, I don't know, it's the thing that is more difficult to me, I think. Like getting the right samples, you know, getting the right groove. I mean, yesterday I spent like 3 hours on the click of a kick, you know. I was telling Patrick about that. He was making fun of me, but it's true. Yeah, I start with the drums, and then that gives you kind of sense of what's going to happen next, I guess. Maybe I should try with melodies first. Sometimes it happens. It depends, but usually it's more the groove. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
this is the foundation, you know.
In the case of if I can give an example of a track I did with Simon, is that I got up in the morning and was browsing to some tracks on Beatport actually, and I heard this groove of a new track which I really loved, and it just had this little movement in it which kind of caught my ear, and I started it off, and I was like maybe 20 minutes into making a groove when Simon came up. He said, "What the hell is this?" I said, "Yeah, I just started this." And then he took that guitar over there and he started playing. So
you mean a bluesem?
Bluesem, yeah, that's how Bluesem was born. So sometimes when you have a talented guy in the studio, it happens like that.
There you go. Sébastien Léger tuned in. He says, do we have to have social distancing in this cafe as well? You know, we're all apart. So.
This is the only cafe that doesn't do social distancing. No.
Yeah. No, I think you know.
In fact, we should all hug first.
Yeah. But you know, when we talk about grooves, it's a very, you know, it can be perceived as or interpreted as a very generic word. What is exactly a groove? You know, because I think when you talk to a lot of aspiring producers, they end up kind of overloading a lot of melodic elements into the thing, but they don't look at the fundamentals of the track, which is the kick, the hats, the bass, the claps. How is that grooving? How is that moving people? The melodies can come in secondary in certain tracks, but I know, for example, what's super important when I hear the word groove, the first person that actually comes to my head from some of the people that I constantly listen is Zone Plus. Zayad does an incredible job at really creating a groove, and in my opinion, and creating this characteristical sound that people associate the sound with him. So when I hear a song, I'm like, damn, I know it's Zone Plus because it's those hi-hats that he has constantly throughout the track. So for me, it's, at least in my opinion, it's very important to form this unique groove and unique sound that people can associate you with.
Yeah.
I am personally trying to do that myself, and of course it's a constant battle, but that's at least how I interpret it.
I think it's a result of the battle, you know. You have won, you know. If you win the battle, you know, with finding a way and how can I say, a way to produce, to search your sounds, or to use your sounds in a track. If you find a way, you will get your sound. Everybody has his own way. You know, there are a million ways how you can create a shaker groove or something like. I mean, you have plugins for it, or you do it live with a mic, or you do, you know. So everyone has his own specialties of how to create, and that's how I think you create your own sound. You know.
Yeah.
If you you cannot focus on, okay, I need to do it my way, I need to do it, you already do it your way, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I was
getting started
up,
sorry to interrupt, guys. I think getting started with the right ingredients is key to having a good track in the end, because as I say, funnily enough, it's a little bit like a pizza, you know. If you start with the cardboard circle and you can add on the best ingredients, it'll never be a good pizza, you know.
No,
it's like own taste.
If you have a bad kick to start with, it might have a vibe, but if it doesn't sound right, don't expect the master guy to make it sound like a Matthew DK track, if you know what I mean.
The mix is very important.
The balance and the mix and the ingredients you start with are super important. And that was one of the things when I was watching Sebastian, what he said surprised me, but it's kind of interesting to know that he says, like, okay, I've been using the same kick for 10 years. Because he knows that sounds right, and he knows how far he can go with it. And once you know those ingredients well, it saves you a lot of time, and it gives you a good end result.
Well, I make every year like few kicks, or each 2 years, or depends if I'm tired of that kick, then I make a new one or added a one, and you can still tweak it, you know, with pitching or with attack or with sustain, or, you know, you can still change it a little bit, but it still has the sound of your kick and the ability to combine it with sounds, you know.
How about you, Maxi?
Yes, tell me.
Do you have like a sample bank? And let's be honest, we all have used, and there's nothing wrong with getting a good sample from somewhere. There's nothing wrong with getting a good kick sample somewhere.
Yes, I have a particular, I have in mind the Roman style. Yes, in the grooves, for me is the most inspiration in this time. Okay, or the songs of Isevesky and George. I think they fusion that, no?
Yeah.
The Romanian style and the melodies and the strings for all that dream. So in this time, I'm starting with the group, and I using a gallery for Mikhail Popovich.
Minimal.
And I think I ¿cómo se dice encontrar, Simón? I find that song what I maybe
like
wanna do, like, or wanna do for this time, for this moment, okay? So when you find that, when you find your songs, your instruments, your kicks, your claps, snares, I think that's the way. Okay, so
but the thing is, there are some good sample packs. I mean, I think Hermanez already made like good sample packs that are out there.
I made few packs. I mean, there are a lot of good stuff. I mean, sample packs out there, but it's very personal which one you use. Well, making a sample library is a different mindset as creating a track. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we all end up with a WAV file, you know, and doesn't matter which drum computer you have, or which if you get it out of machine or get it ends in a WAV file.
So that gives me a question for the people that are listening out there. Would it be worth it if we, let's say, make a Souksonic sample pack for you guys?
Oh, brilliant.
Just a suggestion. What do you think?
Interesting.
Very interesting, yes.
Simon's not sharing his kick, that's for sure. That's a secret.
So Simon will not share the kicks.
I always change it, by the way. I never use the same one. It's crazy.
I think Sebastian just commented, I'm done with my kick. But it's the best kick I have. It always works, and he's right, you know, he's right.
Don't change the winning team, huh? That's what they say.
But that's no problem. We're just gonna invite Sebastian to give us some samples to put on the sample pack for us then.
No, yeah, I think when we talk about the grooves and you know, some of my initial inspiration and the way this person and this artist approaches music is very unique. His name is Stimming, and I'm sure you guys heard of it because you're familiar with his work on Dynamic back in the day with David August and a bunch of other guys. And Stimming is very unique in the way he approaches the music, because for him, he doesn't want to get affected or inspired, because inspiration can be very dangerous, right? You can listen to a lot of these guys that are releasing successful releases on All Day I Dream, and you can say, hey, this is the winning formula, I'm going to do exactly the same. And then you can send it to these guys that are managing it, and they're going to say, I'm not sure. That's why it's very important to find this unique sound without getting too inspired off of other sounds. Because, you know, we all can listen to Giz, Dmitry, and Nikolai. We can listen to Sebastian. We can listen to Patrick. We can listen to all of you guys. But we also have to focus on limiting this inspiration to a certain degree, not to make the sound similar to yours. Because
also it's important to say that those tracks that are out today, I mean, they were made like 2-3 years before sometimes.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So, like, they are already old, and when if you copy something that is out today and it's out in maybe 1 year, you know, then it's 4 years old in a way. You know?
I made Lingala 3 years before the release date. I recorded the vocal of Lingala 3 years before it was released.
Yeah, no, I mean, it takes a crazy amount of time. I didn't even know, getting into the music production industry, how difficult and complicated and time consuming is it to release a song in LA and make
it's a lifetime.
Lifetime.
It's a you have to sacrifice a lot of things in your life, you know. I mean, I locked down myself middle 20 years. I mean, I was 24 years, now I'm 38, and actually I was almost every day in the studio, and sometimes not, you know, and just all the time trying to figure out and training my ears and figuring out and learning how the gear works, and you know, it's a you have to it's a choice, you know.
So
it's a lifestyle kind of thing, you know. And
so Marco, do we have any questions we need to answer from the people?
People are just there's Roy is there. Roy is there. He's saying hi. They're talking with Sebastian. Elias is saying hello. There's no one of the guys commented, he's saying that kicks and percussions would be amazing to have as part of the sample pack.
Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Elias has a great point, which can bring us to something we can discuss. He says that good tracks, they're not easy to make, but they always last forever. And he talks specifically about tracks like Lingala, because Lingala, in my eyes, is going to be kind of a timeless track, a timeless classic within this genre of music. Yeah. Because to this day, you can listen to it and you can still find it relevant. It's not something, this sounds a little outdated. It still sounds very, and it's very, which brings to the point that I think, as Simon mentioned, it's, in my eyes, it's very important to be kind of a prophet looking into the future to see how the sound will evolve. Not necessarily to look at, what's top 10 on Beatport, and you see what's top 10 on Beatport All Day I Dream, and you say, okay, these top 10 tracks, I'm going to make something similar and I'm going to succeed. You're just kind of, for me, that's not necessarily a recipe to success, and I don't see that. But
well, I don't think.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't think there is a recipe for a hit.
There is
in a sense, there might be a format, but it doesn't guarantee you a hit.
I think if you're going in the studio with a mindset of I'm going to make a hit, you are already lost.
Not gonna happen.
Yes.
You're already lost. I think.
Well,
I think a hit is not.
not at least not in the music that we are trying to make, in the sense of being slightly underground and not too mainstream radio with a certain.
That's a different story.
That's a different story. But we are talking about Souk sound, and of course the All Day I Dream sound. But even if you have the same gear with the same people on a different day, I mean, me and Junior, we haven't made a second Lingala yet, and nobody knows if we'll ever do it, because there was no blueprint for Lingala. That was just me starting on a very slow, on a very low tempo at that time, because back then, for example, Lee and Maxi, they were making tracks on 124, 125, if I'm not mistaken. So, but it was played a little bit slower. But I started at 118. I don't know why I started at 118 that time. I don't know why I got in the key of E with it. He came in. He just broke up with his girlfriend. He was very emotional. Sat down, had a few beers, and he just started singing. And it's then I started playing the bass line, and that triggered him even more. In the beginning, we were singing English. Then I said, "Let's try something else." He did some French. I nodded, and then he had another beer, and then he started singing in his language Lingala, which is actually just a language. It's not really the title. So that all those things add up to it being what it is. Afterwards, being produced the hell out of it and all that. But we've been together in the studio many times since then, but we never made a Lingala. We did other things, because you do. I want to try other things,
Patrick, speaking of the sound and the Souksonic, I think it's important to all the aspiring producers that are constantly sending demos to all of us and that are really trying to release. I think it's also, besides your interview that you guys did on When We Dip, by the way, everyone check it out. It's a fantastic interview that really gives you insight of how collaborations work, especially amongst really inspiring guys such as Simon and Patrick in our industry. I think it's important to define what Souksonic sound is.
So somebody asks with which microphone I record.
Okay.
And this microphone I use to record Lingala. Neumann, yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. Somebody asked how did I make the bass line from Alcyon, and one guy actually, Nebula R, said it's with a Moog Minitar, and he's actually right. So it is a Minitar. I have one, and it's actually like a long take, 2 takes. Actually, I just press play, record, and played it, then fix some things, a lot of processing. So, but yes, it's a Moog Minitar, so he might win the sample pack from Souksonic, I guess.
You're getting a special pick from Simon as an award.
Are you sure?
Maxi, can I just say that you are like vertical instead
turn
of
the camera?
You should turn your camera.
Yes.
It's still vertical. I don't know
why. Simon, people are asking you. They'd like to know.
There
Andy
it is.
Gray is asking.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
How did you come up with Alcyon, your track? He says it's a very distinctive and moving track, and they'd like to know how you came up with it.
Actually, it's very funny because I was at my friend's house. The funny thing is that it didn't start with the bass line. I was at my friend's house, and he's like in the countryside, and there was this, how can I say in English, like these little insects, Maxi, chicharras.
I think Maxi is, I don't see him anymore.
Let's say it's an insect that is in the countryside, okay? That makes like a really funny noise, very...
yeah, I know it.
Chicharras.
Very disturbing,
Oh, yeah.
So I actually record that. and I super processed it, you know, and actually the result is what you hear in the track here. Let me just find it. You know this sound? I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You know this?
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, this is actually.
I love that.
This is actually a recording of a. I don't know how is it called, but it's a chicharra.
Yeah, the inside with the legs, they do.
And it's a lot of recordings, you know, put together with effects and stuff, of course.
I can't believe it, man. Really?
But it started from that, you know, and then I started to work on bass line. Yeah.
It's amazing, really.
It's funny because it just happened, you know. And then I started to do the bass line. I did the pad in the back, started to get the groove, and it happened.
So there's a question from Sebastian Leger. Who did the insane mixdown of Al Cayon? Question, Hermanez, question mark. So,
well, we had a great help from Hermanez. Like the mixdown was very tight on the deadline. I think I had one day not one day, but I had several weeks, and I pushed it till the last moment. And with Hermanez, he did an amazing job, you know, mastering and everything. So, thank you, Mich.
Well, yeah, it was a job, yeah. Mixing is a
lot of versions also.
But we managed it. I mean, I think as a mixing guy, a sound guy, or whatever you call it, I want to have the best result, and we were in touch, very close with ending this track, and you changed some things, you know, at your part, and at the end we made a mini mix, I think, you know, with the kick, the bass line, the sounds, and like I think 5 stems, maybe 6. Yeah. That's it. And we did a proper mix down, you know, to make a good balance of yes, to get a nice result, you know, a loud, clean mix. I mean, loud. So, and especially, it needs to sound good in many speakers. I mean, in every speaker. So that I think it's most important. If you play it everywhere, that it sounds everywhere. Good, you know.
Well, that's interesting to say, because you do a lot of mastering. You have an amazing sound, and I think it's nice for young guys to know what kind of speakers you work on, because I know they're not like the very expensive ones.
No.
So I believe it's Genelec, right?
These are Genelec speakers. Wait, maybe you see.
Is that like the which model is that?
This is the 8040.
8040, yeah.
Yeah, and well, yeah. I mean, I'm very happy with those. I know them for a long time. It was hard to learn them, how they how clean. I mean, how they sound actually to learn it. And but also I use a headphone from Bayer Dynamic, and I compare with both of them. So, and
I think those are two brands that are really, I mean, affordable, but still are like generally acknowledged as having a great sound to mix on. I mean, I used to go to radios a lot, and I saw in every radio station, pretty around the world, you see like Genelecs being there. So the people over there, they also listen on Genelec. I think Genelec has a neutral sound. I mean, if it sounds great on a small Genelec, it'll sound great on practically every big system.
I think one point is that if you're a producer, it's not so. I mean, it's important, the brand of the speakers, but if you're low budget, it's not a disaster, because if your room is actually more important, you know, and you can have every speaker in your room, but if your acoustics is not fitting then
Absolutely
you can
right.
have, you know, that's pointless then. So it's
Absolutely.
very important to have a good room, a good acoustics, and then doesn't matter which speakers. I mean, if you have low budget speakers, you can still learn from them and you can make proper music. You can make good mixes. It's all in the ear.
Compare.
Yeah. I made the first 10 years, I made music with KRK, the first editions, you know, from, wait, I show you, you know, like, it's crazy.
Nostalgia. The nostalgia is there.
You know,
there you go.
You know, this is how it all started. They're crappy, but they're good. They're flat, and I mean, I love them still. You know.
But guys, speaking of, you know, we're getting into very technical aspects. For some of the aspiring and coming up producers that one may not necessarily be willing to invest a lot of money into things, because Genelec is, you know, almost 1,500 to 2,000 euros for those two small monitors, good headphones, etc. Do you guys also think that?
No.
1,000 euros, 1,000 to 100 euros, maybe 1,200 euros. You have these speakers.
And
you know?
I even have smaller ones from Genelec, which I work on.
Yeah, I was just saying 8040 is about 1,500 euros. So I'm saying for some of the guys that are up and coming, besides, you know, maybe they might not have a room where they can acoustically equip it in an adequate way.
Well, a good headphone.
A good headphone, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a good headphone is the best way to go now.
Because you know, you can make
comparing with other tracks, you know, that sound good. Comparing before you start producing, listen to a few tracks in your studio on your headphone, listen to them, then go to your project. Then you will hear the difference. After 30 minutes of mixing, stop with your project and go back to the tracks that you know that sound good, and you will hear the difference. And or just drag those tracks into your project and take them -6 or -8 dB so that they're the same, and just compare, and you will get you can get really close by just comparing.
But Patrick, when I'm talking, I have a few friends that want to become producers and they're working hardly on things. You know, we can get very in depth about the technical aspect of the mix of the equipment and stuff, but you also do need to work on making a nice melodic pattern. How interesting is the track? Is it evolving? Does it tell a story? You know, because a lot of these things that we're talking about, the equipment, that leads to a quality groove, and groove being the kick, the bass, the hat, how balanced it is, how good the bass is it driving the track? But also it's very important to go back to the basics, because I hear a lot of people that just started producing and they send me stuff, and it's like, how do you give adequate feedback to these people to make their tracks more interesting, make it a little bit more diverse? You know, we get stuck, even myself, I mean, I'm no expert, I can get stuck on having a track that's very static. You know, it's like there's a typical pattern that people follow. It's like, actually speaking about music, probably one of the best feedbacks I got is actually thanks to Sébastien Léger. I spoke with him through WhatsApp and I sent him the song that I was like, I'm sure he's going to love it. Not necessarily released on his label, but maybe give me very positive feedback. And he told me, you know what, like, Westmale. He told me, you know what, this is a nice sound within its own genre, and this genre being the dreamy genre. And yes, it's a nice track.
I see some people asking about atmosphere and vibes.
Yep.
You see, what's a typical melody atmosphere? So do I read this right? So yeah, I think what differentiates the minimal and the tech house with, let's say, us, right? The melodic stuff is actually the melody and the bass line having more than one note, having more than one chord progression in a song. I think that makes it melodic, no?
No, but
I think the best person that can talk about this is the one that went to university about it, being Simon. I think he's the best known to explain about this, you know? Simon, am I wrong, my friend?
What's the question again?
No, people are asking.
Yeah.
People are asking on how do we get the atmosphere and the ambiances for the melodic, the typically sound of, let's say, All Day I Dream or Souksonic or Lost or One of Us. So there are plugins we can, of course, name, or I don't know. I think it's out there that some people sample a lot.
Yep. I mean, for me, I start off with, you know, Omnisphere is a common plugin. Patrick, I will finish off about Sébastien Léger and the feedback he gave me, because he just wrote in the comments, "Let Bona Fide finish." So and he
Sorry,
just messaged me.
Sebastian.
He says you didn't finish your explanation. So to go back, sorry guys, we'll go back to this.
Yeah.
What I was started saying is that within this genre, the track itself is nice. But if you think about someone like Sébastien Léger and the music he makes and what he aspires, he says that, you know, including even the demos that we get for the label, out of 100 songs we get, about 95, 96 sound the same. And that doesn't mean they're bad tracks. They're nice tracks within its genre. Yeah. But there's nothing truly captivating in those tracks that are like, holy shit, this is really good. It's not, that doesn't mean that when we say no, that it's a bad track. It's just that when I like to think is, if I go to an event tonight and someone plays a track, I want to make sure that I remember it tomorrow. I want to say to my friends, fuck man, remember that track that went dun 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 dun, whatever the melody is. And I think that's about Sébastien Léger's point, is that it's very important to make a very memorable track. Something that's
identity.
Okay. I think it's important to mention also that when you're DJing, it's not always about epic tracks, you know, or a lot of melody, you know, sometimes it's about crossover tracks, you know, and it's great when you have your own stuff to do crossover, you know, and if you will play only just great, amazing melodic tracks, you know, it will be, wouldn't be contrast, you know, so maybe another suggestion is to do a lot of stuff, you know. For instance, I did a track the other day that has no melody. I just put it as I said to myself, okay, I'm gonna not put any melody on the track, you know. And of course, it was kind of difficult because it's the minimal. Not the easiest part, but it's the part that is more natural to me to put, always playing a chord, always playing something, you know. So just work on the groove, you know, on the percussion, and just not put melody. Also, it's something that sometimes, you know, when you're DJing, then you see that track and you say, okay, great, you know, I have something that nobody has also, great today, that everybody can have everything, and you have something exclusive that's not melodic, and then you put another melodic track, and then it gets a contrast, you know. And
no, that's
I mean question answer.
Sorry. Yeah.
If you have like sounds, you have the question and the answer. That's, I mean, like I saw it one time in the interview of Hans Zimmer. His master class is actually amazing. This one you should see how he's approach in music, and especially in a movie.
Interstellar.
Yeah, it's Interstellar and the stuff. His approach, I learned a lot from his.
His vision in music is
amazing. It's so different from electronic producers and everything. It's very interesting to see if you're.
Mitch, I heard the fun fact about that. Speaking of Interstellar, that he actually wrote the music before he knew anything about the movie.
Yeah.
So he finished all composition without knowing what the theme is. I think they just told him it might be about space. They didn't tell him anything. So he wrote 10 or whatever 12 tracks that are in that amazing album. And then they incorporated specific sounds to the scenes in the movie. It wasn't done the other way around, which just blows my mind, you know.
It's crazy, huh? I mean, this guy, he needs to have so many tracks and ideas. I mean, like we all have, but in his case, you know, the melodies, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it gives me goosebumps to this day, all of his tracks in that song, and it just how insanely well the melodies fit within the movie. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing. But yeah, when it comes to guys, when it comes to atmospheres, what I like to do is I like to use a thing called holy scale, because unlike, you know, some of these guys like Simon and stuff, I'm not specifically musically educated. So when it comes to, which doesn't mean that you can't do it. You can, because there's a lot of things that will help you do it. But I'm saying there's this thing called holy scale on Ableton, and I'll give a shout out to Cora, aka Mike. He told me about this thing that if you have a specific key of the track, be D minor, E minor, whatever, this holy scale, similar to that scale that Ableton has in default, lets you play on the keyboard specifically keys that fit within a specific note.
Yeah, that's very
It helps me a lot. So, you know, I personally do it. Another thing that I like to use, I don't know how much we can do like screen sharing right now, but maybe I can try it. I don't know if it works. Let me know.
All right.
Yeah, it works, yeah.
Great. So what I like to do is with Ableton, I like to have this thing called random arpeggiator. So this thing is super interesting. What it basically does is it helps me start off a specific track. If I want to start off with a random melody, I can add a plugin that I like, say Addictive Keys. And if I play it, 1 second, sorry, because it's hard with Zoom. Okay. Oh, I didn't set it up. 1 second. It's a little messy. Sorry. Core. This can help to give you a showcase. If you just drop a plugin after any VST, you can adjust. Say if I want to play a 32 loop and I want to have 30 notes in this, I just click on this and it automatically generates a melody and a pattern in D minor. And this can be a good start for you to say, okay, this is interesting. Maybe I can start off with this, and you just write the MIDI notes and then you can click play.
Cool.
And there.
Cool.
Wow.
There. And if I don't like this, I can click it again. And it's...
Oh,
there, this
it's very nice, huh?
Amazing.
Yeah, cool.
Good
I
stuff.
like the first one.
Go back.
I like the first one.
There you
Maybe
go.
a little bit more, and then they can sample it and put
Exactly. So I can have this, and I know it's in D minor, and I can do another thing. I don't know. I drop an omnisphere, and I can put a holy scale that's gonna let me play things within this thing, and it's simple. You have a melody right now, so maybe the final track will not have this thing, but for me, this is kind of a triggering thing to start off a project.
Yeah.
Because it's you know, when you need to start writing an essay back in school, the most difficult thing is to start it. This helps me just start doing something. And with this, I'm like, okay, I have a track in D minor and I can start working on it. So it's my way of working. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's just something that I would like to share with how I like to do it.
Yes, indeed. It's a good way. You know, you have an idea, you start from there, you know.
Yeah, man, it's very interesting.
Do you know the plugin Scalar from Plugin Boutique? Scalar?
Yeah.
Also something like
Yeah.
that, but without the matrix. So you can just actually play different kinds of chords and keys, you know, and it will make a chord scheme for you actually to start or to have an idea to begin a track. So it's kind of the same principle, but yeah, it's cool.
By the way, guys, for everyone asking in the YouTube, it's called Random Riff Generator Pro.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So just to make sure, I believe we can look at the questions we are missing right now, and we can revise afterwards and answer them. I presume, yeah.
So funny how Sébastien Léger is making fun of Roy Rosenfeld.
Yeah.
Always.
Man, they're two the best.
Rosie.
They're the best friends. They're the best
He's got
friends.
PhD, you know.
So, if I may,
We should maybe check.
I see George X and the guys from Greece joined us, and I just pretty much compiled the next Souk Melange. So shout out to George X, who gave a great track on it. Love it.
Nice.
That's all you're getting. It's
No
a
more.
talk show. It's a talk show.
Nice.
But
So,
more info soon. But I saw them online, so a shout out to the guys from Greece. DSF is there.
Yeah, lots of people.
Yeah.
No, it's great.
Hi guys. Hi guys. Hi guys. So to the guys, is there anything that we need to answer? Are there some questions we still haven't answered yet? We kind of looked over or we forgot because they were all going too fast.
Yes,
Something
there are.
we need to talk about. In the meantime, maybe.
Can I ask a question whilst we're waiting?
Yeah.
I'm curious. I was one of the bigger DJs from who I still like to listen to within this genre is a guy called Hot Since '82, which I'm sure you guys heard of him and you know how big he is in the industry of this house music. He had this very interesting interview where he spoke about his journey to becoming a producer started with him being a DJ for a very long time. He comes from Leeds in England and he used to DJ for 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
And in this interview, he said, taking all my experience from DJing, knowing how the tracks work and knowing how people react to specific tracks on the dance floor, he took all of that knowledge and experience into the studio and started working on music then. So he went from DJing to production, because there's a lot of producers out there that are not necessarily good DJs. And it's in my opinion, and I think it's very important to kind of, I don't know what you guys think about this, because I state that there are good DJs, there are good producers, there are good DJs and good producers, there are bad DJs, but really, really good producers.
Yeah.
So it's finding a thin line. What are your guys' advice on how to become better at maybe DJing or understanding the crowd? What is some of your tips, especially from you, Patrick, since you've been DJing for a while and you're producing for a while? So curious to hear your.
Well, to be clear, I also started first as DJing, not knowing I was going to be a producer. I was working part-time back then, got a little gig in a little cafe, and it started from there, going on to bigger clubs locally, playing all kinds of music back then. I mean, this is a long time ago. And then evolving by, in the record store at that time, meeting some guys that were also DJing, but also producing, being Danny, who is known now as Amal. He used to do like Cubic 22 and he had like big hits in UK. So we got to know each other and he invited me in to get my ideas onto a track, if you know what I said. And I just was sitting next to those guys like Serge Rijmakers, Dominique Sass, Belgian guys who were making a lot of tracks back then. And I learned a lot from those guys,
Yeah. So those were your kind of early inspirations, right, Patrick?
Yeah. And the tracks that we were playing and the promos that we got, those were inspirations. And they were like, okay, but I like this, but maybe we can put this on it,
Yeah.
And
no,
trying to find, as you are a DJ, saying like, okay, I can maybe play this track and mix this one in it. This is a nice combination. I have to remember and do it next time again. That's how we actually start, because back then producing was like, okay, we had like one Akai sampler with like 5 MB of memory, nothing. So
8 tracks,
Yeah, we were very limited back then. But that didn't keep us from making a catchy tune that we could play out. And the very important thing was, and still is, when I make something or when we make something together, it's so important to play it out, because that's actually the first time you really know if you have a good mix or not.
Yeah.
You can be 100% sure in the studio and be like totally fine with it, put it on a stick, play it after someone else's track and just go like, oh shit.
That doesn't sound
it happens. It happens. And that's a big advantage if you can play it out, or if you can have somebody play it out every weekend and he can just give feedback and say, I think this week it sounded a little bit this, or it sounded a little bit so, or this part was too short and this part was way too long. You know, that's very, very, very important information to get a demo, to go from a good demo to a finished product that works everywhere, you know?
Yeah. No, I know. I was watching this interview with Wasu. He's a very talented friend from New York. He started producing about 2.5 years ago. And he said that when you're kind of a up and coming producer, it's very important to have a mentor. And a mentor being, you know, someone that's experienced, that can guide you and give you adequate feedback. Because, you know, when you get excited when you finish a track, you might send it to 10 different people. Just say, oh, check it out, check it out, check it out. They're your friends that don't know much. They're going to tell you, wow, this is amazing. When is this going to be released, you know?
Good reference. Again, we are going back to the beginning. Yeah, you need a good reference. You know, if you have someone who's... I had the same thing when I started to produce. I also had like few mentors, you know, and which were older than me and which had more experience, a bigger studio. I was just like crappy PC with Reason, and you know.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But that has value, you know, if you have someone around you who can guide you and.
Yeah. No, you know, for I don't know. I'm curious to hear you guys. I've been working a lot with Russian guys, Moss. I'm sure you guys know them very well. They're extremely talented. They're scattered across. Well, one lives in Russia, the other lives in Czech, and the other guy also lives in the middle of Russia. So it's like they're all scattered. And what I realized that what they're very good at, besides obviously making incredible tracks, is they're also very good at mixing down. So for me, when I felt like I wanted to collaborate with someone, for me, a point of collaboration also was, okay, I have this kind of semi-finished product. Far from it. It still has a lot of things missing and stuff. And I know that these guys who are also partially my mentors can help take this track. We as a team together can take it to the next level, because I'm not very good at mixing down. And for me, seeking these collaboration really helps me fulfill my own satisfaction of like, fuck man, if there's someone out there that can help me take this to the next level and we can spice it up with a few things, that really inspires me. And, you know, when it comes to credit, I never saw credit as a big thing. If I do 80%, they do 20%. If I do 20%, 80%. I think if you agree on a finished product and you both contributed, not necessarily equally, but, you know, even one thing, by adding one thing from someone, for me, that's a major thing that can really change this whole collaborative experience. So collaboration from my end definitely helps. Yeah.
Actually, it's good that you say it, because I have the right example right here, my friend. So the story is, recorded these vocals 2 years ago, played one version on Bloemendaal, which just popped up on the appreciation page. Somebody filmed it, but then it was partly English, partly Lingala. So a while back, Marco sent me like this idea. He said, I'm stuck with this. What do you think? I said, yeah, I really like the idea. And then the second idea, he put like a vocal on top, and I said like, maybe I have a better idea, and went back to the recording with Junior and had to transpose Junior a half key or 1 key, I don't know exactly.
+1, yeah, it was +1
key, and it just came together, and now it's a remix for Junior's release. So sometimes this happens. And there's somebody asking a question on what is your process when you're listening to promo submission, right?
Yeah.
So I think first of all, I intend to wait that I'm not in a bad mood, because then I don't like anything. So I intend to hold until I'm in the mood to listen to them. Mostly in the morning, I listen to them as my first thing. Maybe gather a few links and then go through them. And to be honest, I just have to fall in love with it. That's it. And it can be soft, it can be slower, it can be faster. I just need to have something that captures my heart and goes like, ooh, what's this? You know, it can be production-wise not sounding perfectly, but when it touches me, that's the first yes. And then the day after, when I like it still, I would send it to one of these guys and ask for their opinion. And I don't think it's ever been a one person's choice. Maybe it is, I don't know, Marco. But I think it's a process. And I'm sorry to say that sometimes you kind of love a track in first instance. You go like, wow, I really like this. And then you download it and you put it in your long list. And then a few days later, you kind of practice with a little set and you play it in between other tracks. And then it just doesn't fall right?
Yeah.
So it's a process of a few weeks and if possible, even a few months, because let's be honest, there's no point in releasing something that is not going to be fun in 6 months or a year. I think the first love is like the first time you listen to it, and it depends on the mood you have. But if you listen to the third time and you still have like goosebumps, I mean, then you know you have a good track, even though you then go to the next stage and saying like, okay, we love this idea, but can you maybe try to do it? Can you maybe try another kick, or can you maybe try to reduce this, or can you maybe, what I often do is go like, okay, can you make me a version without that lead and that and this and that? Just strip it down to what I think is the most beautiful of the track, and then you can build it up again. That's what I like to do as well.
That's great as a label that you take the effort and the time to help the artist. You know, if you find the track interesting and maybe it's not finished like you expect it to be, that you can help, you know, the artist to create something which fits in the label. That's nice for a label that I mean, not every label is doing this, you know.
No, and I mean, of course, now I'm in a position where I have some time. I didn't want it, but I am. And it's also a new label, so we have quite some demos, but it's not like we are not overloaded like, for example, All Day I Dream. I think All Day I Dream get like hundreds every week. I mean, we are still like maybe 10 or 15 or whatever. So we have the time to listen to them, and then if there is something there, to point it out, and if there is something there which shouldn't be there, which ruins, like this one lead can ruin a whole song for me. Just that one line, you know, switch that one off and it becomes a nice demo. So that's a little bit the question to the guy on what the process is.
Not forget the other questions, because a lot of guys are asking. Let me check.
So I suggest that the people that are not talking in the meeting read the questions, otherwise they're going to pass and people are going to be disappointed maybe.
Well, maybe this is a question for Mich, Hermanez. Can you compare a finished master version with a pre-master, not fully mixed?
If I can prepare a master?
No, compare. If you can compare your production with like a master track.
Yes, I mean, well, if you are trying to make a master or trying to mix it up and gain it up a little bit to play it and to test it, of course, and take a track you really like, that you really like from the sound, and that you know where you are, you know, and
but make sure you have the same volume and loops that you have.
Of course, try to level the track. I mean,
that's very important. Otherwise you're going to try to reach something which is
going too loud, and your track is if you do this and you take the finished track and you lower down, I mean the check track, and you lower down the gain and you make it the same, and you can check very well. So it's a good reference for me. I mean,
of course it's a reference.
Questions?
Maxi, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What are you working on at the moment, my friend?
In this time with this situation, I trying to take the things with calm because the inspiration not come. But I have next release in the melody of the soul, the label of Moss.
Okay.
I have a deal in this year. That's it. Maybe something on Souksonic. I don't know.
I hope so. I hope so.
Me too. but at this moment, the time in the studio, it's weird. No, it's.
I think it's weird for all of us.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's
weird.
So I trying to take this with calm. No. ¿Cómo se dice apresurar, Simón?
No pressure.
No pressure.
That's key. Yeah.
So I want to show something regarding testing. You know, I have a plugin. Sorry that I go back, you know, from the previous topic, but can I show it?
Yeah.
So here you have. Can you see? Wait a minute. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a great tip, guys.
This is great, you know.
This
okay,
is an amazing tip.
It costs a little bit money, but it's worth it, you know. So you have A, B. This is actually the track from your DAW. I mean, from your Ableton or Cubase or so. And this is a track you can put here tracks, and which you like to compare, and then you can see, you know, the levels. You can check the levels. You can check the spectrum, you can check the coloration, you can check the image dynamics, the loudness, and this is very interesting. So you can see, you can go louder and louder and louder, or just to have like an indication how many LUFS you need to have in the final product, you know?
This looks like an update, Mick. I have an older version, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean,
this is indeed a very interesting plugin, guys. Really.
So this is
and girls.
So see, you have two displays. You can check everything, and that's what I wanted to show you all. So.
Music, right? No.
Sorry.
We want to see more girls producing music, no?
Yeah, I'm definitely. Yeah, there are, I guess, you know, many who are producing. So yeah, this is what I wanted to show, you know. I mean, comparing tracks and seeing details. It's not only with the ears, but sometimes if you can see nowadays, there are so many tools you can see visually what you're doing, and that's. I mean, I love it.
I saw one of the questions from Caio Batista. He's saying, can you guys show some of your creative process and tricks on how to improve the track creation? For example, how I showed the way I do like the Random Riff Generator Pro for someone that doesn't really have a major education, academic, musical experience, theoretical, you know, education. For me, that helped me start off with some things. Do you guys have a way that maybe you use some sort of plugins and not necessarily, or how do you start some sort of melody? Do you start off with the kick, the bass, the hats, and the bass? Like, does the bass come after the melody? Does the bass come before the melody? How do you kind of incorporate things? I know they probably switch on and off, like varies, but how do you guys, what's your creative process like?
So, okay, let me ask a question back. If you make a track and you start a track, what do you want to do? You want to dance, right?
Yeah.
You want to feel like, when you're starting. So make sure you have that, you know, and if you feel it, you know, if you feel it inside, okay, this makes dance, then I'm pretty sure other people will feel the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
So it needs to come from yourself that if you start something that's the basic thing about our music, I think, that we want to dance, you know? So with a good groove, you start to, and I think, or with some ingredients who are fit together, which are in a rhythm, and makes you dance. That's how I think. You know, I try to vision myself on the dance floor, and what I want to hear now. You know, so this is a little bit. I asked the question to myself on what do I want to have. You know.
Indeed.
So yeah, basically first the groove.
So Roy Rosenfeld is asking the question, what's the name of it again? The AB comparison? Well, it's called AB.
Yeah, it's from Plugin Alliance.
Sample
Com-
Magic, I believe.
No.
No?
It's from Plugin Alliance.
But there is also a version from Sample Magic.
Yeah, that's true, but
That's the one I have.
I will just post it.
I
But it's about the same
took
thing.
this one.
I will post it on YouTube. It's called Adapter Audiometric AB.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, post
Right.
that because and yeah, I love this
Well,
one.
Let's call the guys to see if we can get an endorsement.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah.
Because let's be honest, guys, this is amazing, but our year has been a disaster, and
Absolutely.
it's not.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's gonna. I don't think the big parties are gonna be next week, if you know what I mean. So we
And
are
not tomorrow, not next week, and
a way to keep busy.
so yeah, I mean, a question to the people and to other producers, maybe. I mean, to you guys, how do you go through life now with all this lockdown stuff? You know, I mean, can you hang on with this? I mean, can you pass the time with a lot in the studio or doing other things? Or Patrick, you're mostly nothing changed at all.
No, I'm mostly this time, to be honest, listening a lot of other people's stuff, like demos and ideas, and correcting them. There was this track from PPCS. PPCS sent me a track he recorded with an original African vocal, and he asked if I wanted to do a remix for his label. And I loved the track so much, so I did a remix. Then we got talking, and over the past 2 weeks we kind of got to know each other. And by now I already did like a analog summing on the original, send it both mixes to Lee, and Lee loves it, and it's probably gonna be out on All Day I Dream.
Oh.
So that's one thing I've been doing now. And to be honest, it's getting those good tracks and getting those inspiration keeps me from getting up in the morning, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nice.
What else can we do?
True, yeah.
What about you, Simon?
I have some herbs in the garden, but okay, that's like 1 hour a day.
Simon, you started talking earlier about another point about the creative process. What was it that like for you? Because we got interrupted there a little bit.
About what? Sorry, about in
When
general?
you started previously, you started your chain of thought, and then we cut you, unfortunately. I don't know if you still have it in your head or you
Actually, I don't remember, but
Yes,
about
with the groove or melody. I mean, how to.
Yeah, how to create a creative process, the groove or a melody. You started talking. Maybe you forgot.
it's a hard question, to be honest, but in general, I try to build the groove first, as I said, and then usually it's like the bass lines comes, but it's usually not the final bass line, you know, it's just something to get the groove on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just talking generally, you know, but at some point I just add some harmonies or some melodic content, you know, and that sparks another idea, and then I change the bass line, and then it's easy to say, you know, like, but it's coming back and forth, you know, a lot. And at some point, eventually, hopefully, I have a hook, you know, and then I can build the track around that, you know. Mm-hmm. So then it's like, I mean, it's funny because usually I finish tracks in like a day or two. Mm-hmm. Then what takes me a lot of time is the mix down, you know. I spend a lot of time on the mix down, changing, you know, the high end of the kick and the stuff and the bass line and whatever. But the music usually happens in a day, two, maybe. Yeah. I mean, the idea usually happens in a how do you say, like in a studio session, you know. Yeah. It's not like you start something and then you add something, you know. In general, it happens, you know. Yeah. But there's times with the current situation, everything, first days were kind of hard, you know, to focus on club music, you know. I wanted to do ambient stuff or whatever, but I'm just working on a new EP. Hopefully I will get it done. And yeah, like you need to keep, I mean, the show must go on, you know, like you have to make music.
Oh yeah.
Here's a guy asking something that helps with your groove, you know, and I can recommend
Quantize.
Quantize. Well,
Quantize.
I make my groove with
That's the point.
with machine. I mean, he's
Or-
actually the question is the main thing of the
Not
question is
to quantize. That's the question. Quantize or not to quantize. That's the question.
on grid or off grid, you know.
Yeah.
So-
And I mean, I know specifically on the day that I was starting the loop, because I use machine to start loops often. Before I just did it with samples and all that stuff, but I like to go on the machine.
Machine is, that's what I want to say, you know.
Yeah. And you have this little slider, slider on top, which gives you the shuffle, right? And I distinctly remember I went overboard with Lingala because it was like on 32 or something, which is a lot. And it works really well on clap and hi-hat and kick and all that stuff. But the minute you go the whole time, it's
Yeah.
so it was a mix of two grids, as they say, or grooves or whatever.
Yeah, no, I would, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to share something when it comes to percussion and the aspect of fills.
Yeah, please do.
Fills, yeah, fills. When I listen to a lot of tracks have these fills that kind of make the track go on and make it more interesting. And I felt like a lot of producers kind of oversee the aspect of fills and how that can impact how the track is changing or keeping it interesting, because you can get stuck in a generic loop that lasts whatever and it sounds good, but then when you go into an arrangement view, it's like, man, I'm stuck after 2 minutes. What do I do? And I realized when I listen to a lot of music is that they have so many interesting fills
Ear
throughout the
candy.
track.
I call it ear candy.
Yeah,
and
ear
details.
yeah, no, I saw this. It's a super interesting thing on YouTube. I can share it right now. So if you go into your drum rack as an example, and you take I'm gonna start a random. So I have these, whatever it is, super random 11 percussion of one shots. I can take all of these. 1 second, sorry. Okay, drag them here. Okay, and then you can have them there and say we have all of these. Then you can click here and then you drag all of these across. Right? This is a very interesting way of doing it, but I will show you how to do it. 1 sec. Okay, my touchpad is lagging a little bit. So option, and then you can drag it across with holding option, and then you're gonna basically have these 10 percussion sounds, right? What I then do is I can go into MIDI effects and take the arpeggiator here, and then I can put it to random, and then I can press play.
Oh, like that. Yeah.
That'll get you.
Sounds great.
Like I just took completely random, and okay, you can select from 30 individual one shots at something that you like, and from here you can build and take it in any direction. If you wanted to go just up.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
This is like, and you can, and it's super random. And sometimes you can get inspired off of this. So that's one of the tricks that I learned. It's nothing crazy. It just uses a simple arpeggiator MIDI effect, and you add just one individual one shots from percussion, or even, you know what's super interesting? You can do toms, which are kind of these sub groovy bass lines of individual tom hits. You tune them down, and then you can do the same thing here, and it can generate the random bass line for you. No, it's very, very interesting. But yeah, I just wanted to share something super basic that I enjoy using.
Yeah, man, great.
Hopefully that was interesting for someone.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice way, man.
One plugin that I used quite often is the Spectrasonic stylus, I believe.
Mhm.
It has like chopped up grooves, so you whatever tempo you are, it'll kind of fit. And then you have the sounds in solo. So you have the sound separately, or you can use like the loop they suggest, or you can totally change the order of the loop. So you can pitch it, you can gate it, or whatever. So it's a really easy starting point for if you, let's say, have a bass drum, a kick. Sorry, if you have a kick, a snare, and a hi-hat, it's easy to go there and just get like some tom loops or some percussion, some congas or whatever going, and you can fuck it up so bad that you don't recognize the original. And I think that's a part of the fun of it, finding something that grooves and then trying to make it sound a little differently or trying to fuck it up and do something new with it, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree.
So that's a fast way to go. That's a fast way to go. Another way to go is what I sometimes do and did a lot in the past is actually have a guy with a lot of percussion come in for a session, pay him, and let him play for an hour, you know?
You create your own sample pack on the go.
And then, yeah, I have many of those recordings, hours and hours of them. So again, maybe that's something we can...
Sample pack.
Yeah, could be interesting. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, that's like one shots. It's nice. It's easy. You can drag it in. You know, like Marco did. You know, with the drum rack from Ableton. You know, it's I think easy for people to have like one shots and they can use our sounds to make a good groove or percussion or shakers, hi-hat, and maybe a few loops. I'm trying to figure out how Contact works, maybe to make an instrument to have a few loops inside that grooves with the rhythm of the BPM of your DAW. Maybe we can do also a few of these. So yeah, it can be very interesting. I think just thinking, you know. So.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Contact, I have a really nice plugin suggestion for some people. It's Spitfire does really incredible collection of samples, and I'll gladly show some of this. It's called London Contemporary Orchestra Strings.
Okay.
And this is a really nice Contact plugin that you can use. If we just run it now randomly. Let's disable this. And if I have...
Yeah.
This is a super crazy sample pack with violas, violins, cello. Like I personally enjoy just even playing for my own pleasure, not even making music with this, but this is definitely a great like, of course, Omnisphere and a few others have similar sounds, but this is so complex and how much you can manipulate the sound and make it. And obviously when you hear it on proper speakers or a nice set of headphones, you really truly hear the elements that make this, you know, total sample size of 11 gigabytes just for a single, this whole thing is about 35 gigabytes, but it really is amazing in terms of how much sound it can deliver.
It's free?
No.
No.
Nothing is free, Simon.
No, man.
Nothing is free, Simon.
Hey, Simon, Weston Wasu, he just messaged me, and Mitch, he told me I just bought this AB plugin.
Oh no! Really?
$200 to this company.
No, $200. You have to wait for the.
I can't believe it.
Hey, I didn't told you it's cheap. You know, it's.
Look, yeah, there it is, $200.
It's so fucking expensive. I know, but you have to wait. Look, the Plugin Alliance.
They have a lot of.
They do a lot of how can I say, discounts, you know, and you have to wait the right moment. And the discounts, they can be like -70, minus I don't know, minus the half of the price. So it really matters, you know, if you see how these shops works, you know. It's yeah.
Actually, I would just say something because I got an email the other day about Plugin Alliance. They have, I think, for 40 US, every plugin available, yeah, for 50.
Wow.
And there's
Yeah.
plugins for 300,
Yeah,
500.
true.
So
Yeah.
if someone is interested, I just got the email, I think yesterday.
Yeah, we can post it. We can post the code in the live chat, you know, and then you can buy every plugin for 50 euros. I mean, for $50. Sorry, you know.
Let me check.
So that's maybe a help, you know, to get this plugin cheap, or maybe other ones, or can help your storage.
One suggestion about plugins for mixing, which I use a lot, is the Fab Filter bundle. I mean, that's the next level.
Bundle. What you need from Fab Filter is like the multi-band and the Q3. These are basically, I think, the most important plugins in the world today. I think.
It's true. That the Q3. I mean, I still have an older version actually, but I saw it at Mixplace. It's unbelievable.
We worked with Patrick. Yeah, we worked with Patrick on Yonde's remix from Junior Aquetti on my remix of it. We worked with Patrick a little bit on the mixing down using the Fab Filter, and it's amazing how many features it has built in with like pre plus post analyzer, how it highlights like a red critical area in your overall mix. It's pretty spectacular.
Character as well. You can change the character, you know, the algorithms. It's going very, very deep, you know, and
guys, speaking of some tips and tricks, I personally, you know, during some of my downtime, or if I have Ableton or any other DAW open, I really enjoy this book. It's called The Secrets of Dance Music Production by Attack. It really brings out, it's about 300 pages, and it really breaks down almost everything that you need to know, including all the plugins and how to make anything you want. And then it has a separate section on mixing down, on mastering, you know, how to master as a starter in 12 steps, you know, at least with basic Ableton. If you're not willing to invest a few $100 into Fab Filter, you can do it using default Ableton sounds just as a starting, so you can learn, right, Mitch? I mean, I'm sure you're an expert.
Yeah.
I mean, I use the most equalizers I use is from my Cubase itself, you know, just to have a small arrangement already, and then the details I do, the difficult parts I equalize with
with more advanced stuff.
I'm addicted to equalizers. I have many equalizers, you know, but
of course.
This one is most flexible and let's say flat and clean, you know, without, if you want to have like one sound, a particular frequency cut off, you can do it without any distortion or any, you know, saturation or etc.
I think there's a question for Maxi. Yeah.
Tell me, Simon.
Sif Jackson is asking, how long have you been DJing, and do you prefer warm-up sets? And another guy said, would like to hear more from Maxi Degrassi.
Maxi, come on.
We need to. My English is so bad, so.
You can say it in Spanish or Italian.
Yeah, say it in Spanish.
Yeah, of course.
Repeat the question, Simon, please.
Yes.
I'm gonna fill my glass.
The question.
The question. How long have you been DJing? ¿Cuánto hace que estás tocando? Y si preferís.
In my case, in my case, I think maybe 7 years. I don't know. I started first production with the production, and later be DJing. But I have a weird situation because the music I do, yes, it's not the same what I play. You know.
Okay.
So maybe this happening in some people who is listening this.
Yep.
Yes.
My music is more melodic, more deep, and when I play some more house. I don't know why that's happening.
It's funny because I'm just sneaking in with something myself, but like I remember
No.
when I play in Argentina, usually it's not that we play harder, but you play yes, you play a little bit harder in general. And or people are expecting a little bit more energy, you know. And for instance, when I went to Canada, I think last year, I went there. Of course, every time I play deep at the beginning. You know, I start to build up, and at one point I started to go a little bit further, you know. And people weren't getting so much into that vibe, you know. They prefer like quieter music, you know, like more movie stuff, you know. That's actually something like interesting, you know. Depending on the country, you know, people just don't want to go further, you know, and more not techno but like more energetics, you know. So in general in Argentina, even though they are very open to a lot of styles, you know, sometimes if it's too deep, you know, at one point they get bored, you know. So it's just something to mention, you know.
You know, speaking of Argentinian kind of scene, one of the first guys that I actually started listening, I listened to Boiler Room in Buenos Aires, and it was a live set, and it was with a guy called Alexis Cabrera, and it was about 5-6 years ago. And I don't know if you're familiar with this. Alexis Cabrera he has a Boiler Room set. He played together or after Barem, which is obviously well known. And ever since then, I kind of started trying to learn more about the scene of Buenos Aires and Argentina and what's the sound. And, you know, speaking of this, because you guys tend to kind of travel a lot, do you have not necessarily in mind, but as you travel, do you find if you're repeating a travel to a specific country again, are you planning to play a similar groove that you felt like works in this city specifically? Or how much are you willing to experiment in your sets? You know, is
not
it
at all. I mean, in general, you go with what you want to share. I guess everyone here, right? But sometimes you're a DJ. You adapt. You know, I mean, you have a lot of styles that you love. You know, and you play deeps. You know, deep music you love, and then. I mean, something is great about DJing is that, you know, that's the difference between a live set. You know, is that you can just at one night, I mean, the other day, like 2 months ago now, but, you know, I play at Crowbar, you know, in Buenos Aires, which is kind of more techno. And I had to play more techno stuff, you know, and it was great, you know. And sometimes when you play more deep, you know, but it's still yourself if you can manage to do that, you know. So
yeah, no, definitely. I mean,
great people to know a lot of range, you know, not just deep. I think as we speak, you know, I'm just thinking out loud, you know, something that is happening nowadays is that a lot of genres are getting very commercial, you know, and people tend to just do that, you know, just do deep house, you know, just thinking deep house, you know, but just deep music, you know, and they don't go more than that, you know. And I think as an artist, you need to do a lot of styles, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't release it yet, you know, but I mean, just do techno. You just not techno, very hard techno, but I mean, like more energetic stuff, you know, more deep house stuff. So then when you're DJing, you have a lot of stuff.
Simon,
yeah,
like
Hermanez does it, you know, Patrick does it, you know,
ago.
everybody. But it's important to keep that in mind. I think not just do one thing.
Yeah.
15 years ago, we had just like and around. I mean, we played locally. Like two genres. You had house and you had R&B, you know, like, I mean, a longer time ago. So people need to be educated, you know, and some point people will love that kind of genre, the new generation, and on and on and on. And then it will get commercial, you know.
Yeah.
But so many people loves it, which is actually good, I think, you know. And that's how things evolve in time, you know. And if you're getting older, you can see it clearly because you have the historical memory that the change is going on, but it takes some time.
Yeah.
How many years ago is it that we played together in Café d'Anvers, me?
We played together in 2008.
12 years ago.
12 years ago.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think, you know,
12 years ago.
The person who asked Maxi about warm-up sets, I come from somewhere where I started DJing about eight years ago, roughly. And I started DJing in this club called Bijou in Boston. It's one of the best clubs with one of the nicest sound systems in the whole of East Coast of the United States. And I had the opportunity to start warming up for maybe a local resident DJ, just to showcase. And then as the thing started progressing, I ended up warming up for over the next few years for a really big variety of big DJs, of headline DJs. I warmed up for like the likes of Lee Burridge twice. I warmed up for likes of Hot Since 82, Duke Dumont, Clapton, a really wide variety of house music or even techno, like Nicole Mudaber. I opened up for her. And for me, over those 6-7 years, it really helped me understand, one, the importance of a warm-up set. There's a beautiful article written on Resident Advisor. It's called The Esoteric Art of a Opening DJ. I recommend everyone to read it. It talks about how complex the job of a warm-up DJ is. Because the warm-up DJ really, if he's able to control his own emotions and not play this crazy stuff because he has his 2 hours of fame, if you're able to control it and play something to really set the vibe, you can make the headline artist sound better. And if you really know, I think warm-up DJing really helps you understand the texture of every single track, the complexity of every single track. Back to Simon's point, he's talking, if you're just playing melodic, it can be overwhelming. Sometimes you just want to keep the groove going and just keep people moving left and right and chit-chatting, getting them excited to this. Not using this 2 hours of fame. It's like, man, this is my time. I need to showcase everyone. You destroy the place, the energy is gone, and by the time the headliner starts, he's like, well, everyone's kind of, tired.
It's like reading a book, If you open the book, what is the first thing you read? The word before, and that is good, then you will read further, it
gets you excited. Exactly.
Yeah, it gets you excited, and that's, I think, the same job of a warming up DJ. I think it's super important to give a vibe of the whole night, So yeah. He will tell what's going on. He's telling the story. He starts telling the story, and
yeah.
So yeah, you're 100% right,
Yeah.
Somebody is asking more. Somebody wants Maxi to speak a little bit more, so.
We all want Maxi to speak a little bit more.
Someone is asking.
Speak in Spanish, Italian. It's fine. People.
Yeah, it's fine.
Someone is asking for mastering, mixing. I saw this question passing twice. I want to answer it with mid-side equalizing and phase and anti-phase.
Yeah.
Simon, remember? We had also situations where we were talking about phase, and. Especially with kick and bass lines and how they peak in the mastering level. And sometimes you can have like phase problems, and there are some tools you can tweak actually the phase of the sound and make it fit back into to the other sounds, that it doesn't peak, or that you don't get a negative effect. Because if you have a waveform, and you have another waveform which is exactly the same on some point, and it will cross, then you have a minus. Then you don't hear it,
Plus,
you have like a flanger effect, and that's not what you need. So what you can do is change. Actually, I see it like a 3D image. You change and you puzzle it. My mind. So that's phasing.
That was actually a question of Dan Goal.
Yeah, Dan Goal. I'm watching and mixing. So also mid. That's I love it. Mid and side equalizing. I love it, and especially with compression. If you have side compression and the mid compression, so you separate actually the mono signal and the side signal, and you can add process on the separate channels. So you can have a lot of control through your track. And I recommend also to go that way, because sometimes the stereo field can be so loud to compare with the mono field, and if you check it with a mono switch for your speakers, then you can hear a lot of difference. So you can change it also with that, with mid-side gain or equalizing, compression, stuff like that. I mean, I have to check about this. This is really important, especially the stereo whiteness, and some tracks has a lot of stereo whiteness.
Yeah, too much.
So this, and especially if you have like Omnisphere, like Native Instruments plugins, Arturia.
What was the plugin called again? Nexus.
Nexus. I mean, lot of plugins. They have a lot of stereo whiteness. So, and you can check it with analyzers and see how far it goes. That you don't have anti-phase. You know, that is going out of the phase, and you'll get trouble with mastering afterwards. So it's a big study. It's a lot of information. It's very hard to explain in a short time. But yeah, check it out. It's
Mich, I think the Isotope Insight is really good to use for that. No?
But as well the AB, which one? The AB has the color. It calls the coloration part, you know, and you can see how far you're going with your stereo whiteness, and if it's not going too far, that you get lost in this, you know. And
so this was a question from Dan Gold. Dan Gold sent me a track which I really love.
I hope I helped Dan, you know, with, with the answer.
He made this one.
Yeah, cool.
I played it in the Tranquil Days Volume 1, I think. I love this track.
Yeah.
Dan Gold, big shout to you, my friend.
Cool. Yeah, you're welcome.
We'll release.
Patrick, I think it's a good opportunity for us maybe to talk a little bit briefly about, you know, Maxi spoke about his current, you know, releases. What are some of your releases? What are the plans for Souksonic in the next few months that people are curious to hear? And then for Simon, besides writing the EP that you mentioned earlier, where do you find inspiration today? And what about you, Mitch? Anything going on for you? And I think we can kind of talk about this briefly and see where it takes us.
Oh, well, going on for me, you know, I have a family, you know, and my situation now is kind of difficult to be in the studio as much I was before, because I'm dependent from my parents, people who I can rely on to have time in the studio. Mm-hmm. So I'm dealing with this at the moment. So yeah, I released some tracks.
And don't forget me, you have a track coming out on the Souk Melange.
Yes, I was about to tell. So I made some. Yeah, I had some tracks, and I was listening with Patrick, and yeah, he chose that one to release on Souk. So hope you guys are gonna dig this. So.
The only thing,
what else? I also.
The only thing he needs to do is find the title for it.
Yeah, true. I don't have titles. I never work with titles. I work with the code. Just
instead of asking guys, "Oh, how you generate a kick," it's like
how you generate a name.
How you generate titles.
Yeah, All Day I Dream album. I have so many ideas. I'm working on it. I'm a very slow producer sometimes, you know, and I needed more time, and so that's it. You know, I'm working a lot on things, and it's never finished. And yeah, we all have some problems, I think. So, but. Sure. Also, another thing that I'm really hooked on is the Electron devices. So I'm digging deeper in this kind of technology to maybe make a live set. And I was, you know, I was cutting my tracks and pieces to load into the Electron. So, and it works very well. So I don't know, I'm doing a little bit of everything.
Hell.
Sorry?
It works like hell.
Yeah, I love it. Actually, I love it. You know,
unbelievable.
It's like feeling like 14 years again. You know, if you play with these machines, and you can play your own track on a different way. You decide everything. It's new for me, but I need to have more control over it. And maybe in the future, I hope maybe we can do live sets, you know. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. What about you, Simon?
Well, as I've said, I think I'm preparing a new EP, but I mean, already have one track, I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't know really what to say. Like, I mean, I'm just throwing a lot of ideas, you know, these days, trying to find a lot of, I mean, trying to get a balance also, you know.
Yep.
These days are like kind of hard, you know, to focus on like a dance floor, you know, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense for you because you said, you know, for you, sometimes tracks can take, as you mentioned earlier, 1 or 2 days. For some of us, it can take me a month to finish a track. So maybe you don't have anything today, but tomorrow you'll write something quickly, you know?
Yeah, but don't, I mean, don't take me wrong. Like, it's like, in a way, I mean, I might have an idea, let's say in 1 day or 2 days, you know. I have like 20 sketches now, you know, but those sketches, it's like you feel when you want to keep going with that one, you know. And then I have a lot of time to do it, you know, find the right samples, you know, the drums, replace the clap, you know, because you don't like how it's, you know, everything that, you know, takes a lot of time for me. I'm like kind of like me, you know, Hermanez. Like, I mean, I wish I would do music more quickly, but I mean, I tend to do it the best I can, and it takes time sometimes, you know. So, but the ideas come quickly, you know. That's for sure. But so yeah, I mean, I'm doing an EP now. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do also ambient music, you know. I've been playing a lot of piano lately, so I mean, I think I have always something to say in another way that's not club music too. So I mean, not pressure, but seeing where it goes also with that. Yeah, I mean, trying to make music, trying to find a routine, you know, that feels good, you know, these days. It's not easy.
Go with the flow.
Yeah.
Go with the flow.
Going by day, I think these days is what works the best for me, you know, not think too much about the future, you know.
Yeah.
And don't forget, no mountains without valleys.
Absolutely, you know.
Yeah.
How many times, Patrick, are we calling and saying like, dude, I'm gonna sell everything I got. I'm gonna sell everything.
That's what we do amongst each other. We keep each other like happy at some point.
Come on, Mike, come on. Sit behind your shit and start doing something.
You were talking about Hans Zimmer at the beginning of the talk, you know. And actually, there's another masterclass, I think, from Danny Elfman, which is another film composer, which I really like, actually. And the guy says something very interesting, that is, he made like, I think, 200 movies now, you know. So 200 is amazing, right? And he says that every time he starts a new movie, he feel like he can't make it, you know. He's like super stressed. He feels like he's not gonna be able to do it.
Yeah.
And at the end, hopefully, I mean, he makes it, you know. So you know, he has 201 movie now, you know. But I mean, it's important to say that as an artist, sometimes you will always struggle, you know. The people that will say that they don't struggle is not true, you know. It's hard to do it. Even though you have a lot of experience, I think every guy, you know, it's difficult for everyone.
To be honest, the ratio of starting a project every other day and actual releases is like what? 1 in 10, 1 in 15, 1 in 20.
Yeah, took the words out of my mouth.
Depending on the moment, you know.
It took the words out of my mouth. For me, for one track to be good in my eyes and maybe end up being released, I need to write 20 shitty tracks and rate them and be like, this is good, this is bad. Yeah. But then you have the ability to really learn the best out of these projects. And luckily, comparing to what Simon was talking about with movies can take time, a lot of money, a lot of things. With us, what is it? Just opening new live set on Ableton, playing around with things, and you're like, I don't like this, close it. That's the thing. With movies, it's a little bit more difficult. So we're lucky to have this kind of unlimited yeah, unlimited freedom and unlimited spectrum of just freedom and creativity, and then maybe 1 in 20 tracks will work. But it's important to never kind of, as you guys said, one day you're just like, oh, fuck all of this, I'm deleting everything, I'm selling everything. But it's important to keep going.
You know what's cool? You know what happened to me, that I was learning, you know, the time that I was learning how the electron machines work, you know, and figuring out, and it's actually, to compare with Ableton or with Logic or with, it's very limited, you know.
Yeah.
And you just have like 8 tracks, or I mean, if you have like the octa track and the rhythm, then you have in total 20 tracks, maybe less. And I mean, it's so amazing what you do. And I mean, what happens with your creativity if you are very limited, you know, if you have just 2 effects for each channel. Your track is a mono track, so you have 8 mono tracks, so you have so you're gonna search in a different way new sounds, and you're not going to be spoiled with technology, you know, that everything is there in front of you, you can just take it and put it and compile it in a track. So
but the less you have, actually the less you have, the more creative you are.
It's a mind thing, yeah. And then if you turn back to your DAW, to the computer, and you see like, wow, I have so much opportunity, you know.
It's very true. I mean, I watched, most of us, I think, did watch Sébastien Léger's live Facebook. And, you know, a lot of people constantly ask like, oh, what is this plugin? Because people are constantly keep on thinking that the secret to good music is good plugins. Yes, of course, good mixing and stuff, but Sébastien Léger showed that you can make something very good and very catchy with default Ableton sound.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I need to download dummies. I need to download addictive keys. I need to download Spectrasonics. I need to download Contact, Reactor. But the truth of the matter is that you really don't need a lot of these plugins to make really good grooves. Yes, it helps, but he showcased how to make a very catchy groove. And he had a very interesting point in the comments saying that if you have a good loop, that if it's a good loop, you can make it last forever.
Yeah,
and it's a very good point. And make sure that your loop is good, and then you can take it from there. And you can re-listen to it for hours, and if it still sounds good, you're like, yeah, this is groovy.
Yeah. Who cannot listen to, let's say, Heimreise or whatever track from Matthew for hours without being bored?
That track is still, I cannot wait for it, at least.
He has a few of those where you just go like, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
But then it just keeps you moving without being bored. So it's a matter of detailing and groove and feeling and placing of certain points. And I think every producer has his own stamp and his own groove to it. And that's what makes us unique, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
But that's what also makes it difficult in a way, that there will never be an exact blueprint of a hit. There will be a blueprint of an idea, or there will be a blueprint of a new genre, but there will never be a blueprint of tomorrow's hit, you know?
True.
Then everybody can do it. And I think that's one of the nice things about music, is that you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. You never know when you put on your studio that by the end of the night, you can have something that's going to change your life, you know? And that's kind of addictive as well, but that's what keeps us going every day. Like, okay, if we put on the computer and the keyboards and we try, at the end of the day, we might have something that we can use, or maybe, if we're very lucky, something that can change our lives, you know?
You know, that's the tricky thing I have in my mind. So like every day you wake up with a new story, and if you're able to tell and to write down, that's great. But if you don't have time one day and you have that mindset, that can be very frustrating. I mean, like, it's true, you know.
Yeah, no doubt. Patrick, speaking of some Souksonic releases and some of the music, maybe we can share with some of the fans to tell them what some of our upcoming plans are, and we can discuss some future music.
Yes, and I think we are then about to close our cafe as well.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Amazing.
Hours. Yeah.
It's been really amazing. So the plans on releasing is there's going to be a new Souk melange, and at the moment I'm looking at tracks from Jorge X and Plekta, which I love. I'm looking at a track from Hermanez with no title.
Perfect.
I'm looking at the track from Nebula with House of Fog.
nice guys, Nebula. Nice guys.
Oh, you know,
Really nice
well,
music.
they send me
Yeah,
a track called House of
Here from Argentina.
Yeah, I love that. I love that one. I played it a few times in my podcasts. Greg Nero, Belgian guy, really nice. Maybe Limara, Ilias maybe. I want to do a big shout out to Drasso. He sent us some amazing stuff. And also to Double Touch and Regan. Some of you have already picked up on the track that I played on one of my sets as a closing track. I had the best day of my life, and that vocal track from Double Touch is wow. I mean, that gives me goosebumps every time. And then, of course, I have the stuff from Junior Akweti coming out soon, also with a remix from Bona Fide. And also a cover song, which actually we made to go on Spotify. Maybe only Spotify, we don't know yet. But so that's a little bit the short-term plans of Souk at the moment.
That's cool.
Cool.
Great. Well,
this was fun, guys.
Yeah, it's
really fun.
Hey, we are almost 2 hours further.
Time flies by when you're having fun, right?
Yeah, time flies, you know. And
unbelievable. And thank you to the guys who were still. I mean, there's still people out there following us. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for all who locked in.
Yeah. It's true. Now we finally can get out. Huh? So yeah, I mean, I hope to do this again. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I did ask the question earlier if we should do this again, and I think we should.
Yeah, that's great.
Now that we overcame our technical difficulties, I think setting it in the future and inviting
if somebody can help us out with doing this on YouTube and Facebook together, maybe, I don't know, because we had some trouble going on the FB.
Connection with Zoom and Facebook was horrible.
No, but for sure. Thank you guys for tuning in. I mean, it's not very common that you can get very good producers in the industry talking about inspirations, and also hopefully, you know, in the future people will be more receptive and they'll prepare some questions ahead of time, and we can also have some of the up and coming producers come and showcase some of their work to just keep it entertaining. But I think it was great.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Cool. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Thank you all for
thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Thanks guys. Bye-bye. Have a good
night.
Bye.
Cheers.